Hello everyone, welcome back. I have to do this commuting videos again because of lack of time, and but I have to talk about the ongoing situation in the geopolitical scene, where the Hamas attack has sparked what I'm afraid to be a bigger thing than just the usual Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I do hope I am wrong, but there are a lot of indicators that actually worry me. First of all, I heard a declaration, press conference where Secretary Blinken was speaking, and he was saying something along these lines. I'm going to paraphrase. We know that Iran has been supporting Hamas. We know that they must be behind this attack for sure. And the interesting part is that we don't have any proof, but we are sure it was them that they are behind. And then you hear Lindsey Graham calling for the bombing of Iran. And then you also see the mobilization of another kind of forces, which are the information forces. Okay, this is a trend. You have several news outlets. They all align with the same narrative. And you notice when there is an intention, when there is an offensive, when there is a narrative that they definitely want to imprint in society. Because today I read through like 10 news outlets, just the titles, and the titles were all along the lines of Hamas massacre of children and women and the most horrible things, the most horrible condemnable things you can imagine, but only on the side of Hamas. We know that Israel has been razing Gaza to the ground in the past 3 days. Thousands of civilians, casualties, same women and children. But no, it's only reporting to be one side. In this channel, we condemn all the violence. Let me make this clear. But yeah, you see that the forces are congregating and using this opportunity. It's this neoliberal thinking that everything is a business, right? Someone might be suffering somewhere in the world, and one thinks, instead of thinking, how are we going to save this person, he thinks, is there a business here? Is there something I can profit from this? This is the neoliberal thinking. It's the plague of the Western world, I tell you. This is my opinion, of course. I'm sorry that the sound is not perfect during these videos, because I'm using just the phone, and I don't have any air conditioning in my car, and it's very hot, and I have to have the window open, so it makes more noise. Sorry about that. At the same time, you saw this speech read, because the author was not Zelensky at all. He just stood there and they gave him a paper to read. You could clearly see that he was not prepared for it. He was just reading it, saying that Russia was to blame. And the same block is lying. And now we have one extra event, which is the damaging of the Baltic pipe. And I'm sure many of you know that the Baltic pipe is a gas pipeline that goes through the Baltic to Finland. And there are already calls for the Article 5. Of course, without any investigation, Finland already accuses the Russians. I mean, they are sure. And so all the arguments are very strong now to push for more violence on the western part. And they need, of course, the support of the people to do this. So they need to flood your eyes and your minds with atrocities so that you are on board with their atrocities, which they will not show you afterwards the result, the human catastrophe result of those. And so the situation is unfolding in such way that the Middle East has always been a powder keg, a gunpowder keg, but it might be much bigger than we think. Like I say, I don't want to do too much speculation. I hope not. But when you have Secretary Blinken saying, we don't have any evidence, but for sure it was them. This is what kind of official? I mean, this is the way that the highest officials of the most powerful countries in the world take care of things. Where is the seriousness? Where is the system at work? The laws, it's just savagery. It's street talk. It's not even that. I mean, there is more honor in many street groups, communication between street groups, even if they are rivals. More honor than this. And so I'm a bit what touches me is that I see that a lot of violence is going to come ahead, and no restraint is being pulled. I mean, at least a little bit of fresh air was coming from the UN, but we know the power of the UN. If the United States is onto something, that the UN is not going to stop. We have plenty of history to know this. But the UN was calling for restraint on the part of Israel, because nothing gives any country a right to indiscriminately bomb civilian areas, raze them to the ground. I mean, Russia has been accused of this lately, but we know it wasn't like the painting didn't look like the way they described it, right? Go and take a look at the images of Gaza now. Entire residential apartment buildings being razed to the ground. No collateral damage worries are being taken into account. Even Israelis are protesting against this inside of Israel, and they are being beaten by their own police. Because this is the Israeli government, it's not the Israeli people. There are a lot of Israeli people that are on the side of the Palestinians and of the Palestinian cause. Right to self-determination, it's what we're talking about. Right to self-determination. Everyone seems to be on board with this idea when it comes to Ukraine, on the narrative that Russia wants to conquer Ukraine. But when it comes to Israel and Palestine, being Palestine, the oppressed people for decades, living under violent conditions, suddenly all this sense of justice vanishes from many Western people's minds. All on account of propaganda, I believe. And of course, a huge dose of ignorance, which is fertile ground for these ideas to be sown. Again, I condemned all violence anywhere, from any side. This is not what's at stake here. So far, only the bloc that the West deems as the evil side has been calling to restraint in violence on both sides. How crazy is that? The evil guys want restraint on violence. Ooh. Okay, this is it's just a short video, just some thoughts on this. Go check out the video where Blinken says this. We don't have any evidence, but it was them for sure. So if you add all this up, I'm sure they are preparing. There is one doubt in my mind that I've expressed in the previous video, is that I wonder if the resources, the Western war resources, are enough to support both Israel and Ukraine, let alone in the event of war with Iran. But if such an event comes, a war with Iran, we know it's very, very thin line to cross, and World War III, nuclear exchange is possible to come out of that. I mean, history is actually repeating. Yeah. Okay, guys. It's a short one, just my thoughts on this. Let me know what you think. If you disagree, please let me know. Just be polite. It's all I ask. I think politeness, it's never too much, even between enemies. A certain code of honor has to be always maintained. This is my idea, this is my thinking, and yeah, bye bye, till the next one. Oh yeah, and one more thing, by the way. Zelensky in a press conference said that concerning the war in Ukraine, that the war was entering the last phase. The first phase was containing the Russians. Second phase was like stopping the Russians, something along these lines. And the last phase was taking the initiative. And then he made the statement that this was the last stage, the most difficult stage of them all. Let me know what you think about that. I mean, we know, I had news this morning that Avdiivka is about to be surrounded, is about to become a cauldron. The Russians are dropping the hammer there, and by the videos I was able to see, the columns of the military columns of Russian troops advancing, and this was a video made by Ukrainians, by the way, and with no opposition whatsoever. So I think they might have found a weak spot there. And of course we know that the Ukrainians have been depleting their resources in this foolish counteroffensive ordered by the West. And yeah, sad situation as well. Also, bear in mind that Ukraine is more and more a de facto NATO country. I mean, Zelensky is going today to Brussels, to NATO headquarters. What is this close relation? I mean, there is conflict between two sides. Western propaganda tells you that Ukraine is like the underdog, the weaker side, and the bully side is Russia. But when you look at the facts and see that the whole NATO is fighting Russia, I ask you, who's the underdog here? I mean, even Vladimir Putin has recognized that in an open war against NATO, NATO would have the advantage. Russia alone against NATO. So yeah, just putting things in perspective. Now it's the real goodbye. See you later.